Today I'm not in Delft, but I'm on a boat. The boat of Henk de Velde, the famous solo sea sailor. He sailed around the world 6 times, of which 3 times around Cape Horn, the Mount Everest of sea sailing. And I'm really curious how this kind of sea sailing, putting your life at risk, is related to software development. And I'm going to ask him. So Henk, really nice that you're receiving us on your boat, the boat you travel the world with. I'm really intrigued by your field, sailing the world, and I'm really curious how it goes with planning in your life. On the one hand, you make a plan, but you know you have weather and other stuff. How does it go in sailing the world? How do you deal with planning?
Before you leave, you need a plan. Not only the plan what you want to do or what the goal is, but the planning of everything, including safety. But from the day you leave, the next day, that's only the first day. The next day, the plane, not the plan, but the planning can change because of the weather, because of things break down. Anything can happen, and it always happens. It's never the whole trip like, you know, you are planning it in your head. Never.
But you have to see what happens and then
oh yeah, but that's the thing. Adapt. Yeah, and then you know every day. You do the most, what's the most important that day, you know, and on the end you're coming back on the same roads. So the goal, the ultimate goal is always in your mind. But there's never a straight road. You have to change, sometimes quite serious, the planning to get where you want to go.
And does it happen in your case that the goal itself changes?
It never happened before, you know, I must say. It never happened because I worked with sponsors, and then the goal is a world record, sailing non-stop around the world, etc. You know, but this time, I left 4 years ago, I left and I said I'm not coming back. Left not to return. And this, you know, and now 4 years later I'm back where I started. Because halfway I found out, you know, I do not have a real goal anymore. I have to change my way of thinking, also because of my son, all kind of things, and I changed it completely.
But could you have known it up front? Or did you have to get there to learn that you had to change the goal?
I had to get there. This trip was necessary. I had to get there to learn, you know, how I had to change.
And then change the goal and
yes.
Go for it.
And you know, the goal, it's never a goal B. It's not the plan A and the plan B.
No.
It's always an A. You know, the most important is it's your plan, and even if you change it, it's still your plan A.
Okay. And then when you sail and you have your plan and you go to the next island, what's your strategy? Is it really the shortest route, or how does it go?
My trips are never the shortest routes. My trips are actually the most difficult because I'm going from the Arctic to the Antarctic. Who's going to the Bering Sea? I was in the Bering Sea, you know, but I plan it with the prevailing winds and the prevailing currents. So don't sail against the wind if it's not necessary. Okay. Sometimes it's necessary, but don't sail against the wind if not necessary.
And well, you're well equipped in your boat. You have lots of stuff with you, but also it's not like daily life. How does it go? What do you take with you, or what do you leave behind?
What do I leave behind? I left my 5,000 books behind, for example. Now, what do I leave behind? You know, it's a modern boat, but its simplicity is very important. Simplicity. So you only have what's necessary. Most important, automatic pilot, because I sail alone. Also important, communication. Absolutely. Nowadays, it's absolutely important. Not only personal, but also for people. You know. Who follow the whole trip around. What do I leave behind? Actually, it's a normal telephone. I threw it overboard. A normal telephone. You know, after a couple of months, I said what to do with it. Threw it overboard, and because you don't need that. You have a way of communication by satellite, but not with a normal telephone. What do I leave behind? I mean,
what do you actually need?
You need, you know, a dry place. A roof above your head, a warm place when it's cold, a good automatic pilot, and you have to trust yourself. Absolutely.
But for the rest, it's as simple as possible.
That's the best, as simple as possible.
Henk, thank you very much for your inspiration. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to write about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Today was very special, about sailing and software. Intriguing to hear from Henk how he's dealing with planning. And that also just like in our field, maybe not about days, but it's the first day that really counts. Just in our field. It's the first 2 weeks, the first sprint that really counts. What happens after that can change. But it doesn't mean you don't have to make a plan. It doesn't mean you don't have to do planning, as Henk said. It's not about the plan itself, it's about the planning. And you have to have a goal in mind, and the goal is important. And you can deviate, but you always get back to the goal and get back to the route. But still, and that was, I think, that the takeaway from this talk, that you first have to get there, you have to do it. You have to learn from the process. You have to go towards your goal and learn from it before you can change it. Up front, you're never smart enough to know that. You have to do it. You have to learn by doing. That's sailing and software.
This videoblog is sponsored by Awareness.
And Frans, have you taped it?
Yeah, Rini, it's a wrap.
And what do you think about this?
Well, Henk, what do you think about it?
You know, the great Lord, he asked the man, you have been good in life, so ask me and you get it. And the man lived in Alaska and he said, I would like to have a bridge from Alaska to Hawaii. Oh, I said, God, that's a little bit difficult. Do you have another question? Oh yes, the second is, and maybe that's better, explain me how a woman is thinking. Oh, said God, you get your bridge.